3000.
What is doing? I hate doing it, but I want everyone to like, subscribe, follow us on our Instagram, hit the subscribe button right there. One click, it's totally free. It helps the channel grow. Share the content, comment, do all that good stuff. Help us keep bringing you 3000 podcast. Now to the guest. Cheers. What is doing? My name is Maloney. This is the 3000 podcast. I'm joined today by a Mountainboarder, the first ever Mountainboarder we've had on this show, Dylan Radicalface Warren. Thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Local.
Local. You are local
Yeah.
now. So I've got to ask first off, man, Radface. It's a cool name, but where does that fucking come from, dude?
Well, it's kind of like, it's not really the coolest story, but when I was in high school, my best mates at the time were hacking my Facebook account. Like, Facebook had just come out. You'd leave
That used to be funny, which
Yeah.
is now it's not that funny.
Totally. And they kept like changing my name to like fuckface or dickhead or whatever. And then I think they landed on fuckface. So I changed it to radface, like, cop that, boys. And then it literally stuck. And now it's been around for the last 15 years. And now I guess people know me as Radface, Radicalface, whatever. So it's not that great, but here we are.
Well, man, it seems to work. At least you're not calling yourself fuckface anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we all grow up. So.
Somewhat. All right, so mountainboarding, it's something that I'm not that familiar with.
Yeah.
But I'm keen to learn. But let's talk about your story growing up and how you got into sort of this passion and professionalism.
Yeah. Well, I guess I grew up in Emerald, which is like a little mountain town, I guess, in Victoria.
With a new skate park.
With a brand new, beautiful skate park, which I'm very envious that we didn't have when I was a kid. But yeah, I grew up in the hills. I got into skateboarding when I was probably like 9 or 10. And I still skateboard now. It's like a big part of what I'm passionate about. But yeah, I was skateboarding, and obviously up in the hills, we didn't really have a lot of concrete. So we'd go down to the local school and literally just skate the school. Our closest skate park was probably 35 minutes by bus, which was Gembrook.
Yeah.
And they've actually recently got a new skate park too, which is pretty impressive. But yeah, so we would go out skating and stuff. Tony Hawk Pro Skater, that was the whole thing. That's why I got into skating. And one day I had I think it was like, I always forget, it's like my 11th or 12th birthday party at Gembrook Skate Park. So all my buddies came down, we had a little skate party, and a friend of mine bought a mountain board to the skate park.
Right.
And I'm like, bro, what's that shit? That's so whack. Why are you bringing that goofy ass board down to the skate park, man? And he was in my ear all day, and he's like, oh, Dylan, you got to try this board, man. It's so much fun. My older brother does it. They're so cool. Like, you can ride anything you want. You can hit jumps. You can do slides. You can go really fast. You can do all the things you can't do on a skateboard. So I was like, whatever, man. I'm not going to do it. And then it gets to the end of the day, and he's like, come on, just give it one go. So that day we went down to the local golf course, Emerald Golf Course. And at the time, it was an active golf course. And it's on a huge grass, perfect mountain board hill. So we went down to the local golf course. We're ripping down the hill, flying, going faster than I've ever been on my skateboard, jumping over little tree roots, going through trees, sliding in the bush.
Because your feet are fixed in.
Exactly, yeah.
So it opens up what you can do a bit in that capacity.
Absolutely. And I'm sure like when you were younger too, you would have been like, damn, I wish I could skateboard on dirt.
Yeah. You do exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I'm like riding it all day, and at the end of the day, we're like doing big slides on the green and shit, like getting a bit risky, a bit like edgy. And then the golf course security comes out, and they're like chasing us through the whole golf course, and we get to the top and we make it out. And it's like, you know, those memories when you're a kid, like, damn, that was so sick. So from that moment, it kind of converted me into a mountain boarder, and I've been doing it for, I think, nearly 22 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the history of mountain boards.
Yeah.
So people still think it's a reasonably new thing, but it's been around for quite a while.
Yeah. It's been around since, I think, the early 90s. I'm going to get the dates wrong, but it pretty much started with two guys in Colorado who were really keen snowboarders and skiers. And they wanted to snowboard year round. So they started developing like the first versions of mountain boards. and they went to school in San Francisco, and they were actually carving the big hills in San Francisco on the pavement with these prehistoric mountain boards that were like super heavy. They actually had like a big metal frame and like metal foot post binding type things, and they were like ripping up all the big hills there, and they just started tinkering around with it, and then they started developing a prototype and created these first versions of mountain boards and started like asking people if they'd be interested to try it out, and then people started kind of relating to the concept of snowboarding in the summertime. So a lot of like the early snowboarders started buying these first versions of mountain boards.
Right.
And that sort of was like the humble beginnings in sort of California, Colorado. And then, since then it's slowly grown. And now people are doing it all over the world. And it's still very much a very niche underground sport, I guess, like in comparison to what skateboarding is today. It's an Olympic sport. This is kind of, it's very, I believe it's still in its infancy, but
Well, it's only 35 years old, really.
Exactly, yeah. So,
and it's a similar kind of story, and it's, I guess, necessity is the mother of invention or whatever, where with rollerblades, they were born because people wanted to ice skate and practice ice hockey in the summer. So it's a similar sort of concept.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So, we find a lot of people I've got into mountain boarding have either been skateboarders or snowboarders who like actually give it a red hot crack.
Not downhill bike BMX dudes?
Oh yeah, actually like in the last 5 or so years, the
downhill community.
Yeah, the mountain biking community is popping off.
Yeah.
So I ride a lot of the downhill trails, and I get a lot of mountain bikers coming up to me and talking about it, and they all are really stoked on it because they obviously either skate or snowboard or surf or whatever. They're like, oh my God, I could ride the trails on a board. So there's that connection coming through. So it's definitely a good sport to get into if you have a background and to be honest, majority of action sports.
Yeah. The thing is, from my skateboard background, not that I was ever that good, but I love doing it and still roll around today, it nerves me out a bit because you can't bail. That's the thing, you know what I mean? Like, you just think you're committed, you know?
Yeah. That is the first thing everyone says to me. When, I have a friend that comes out mountain boarding or skateboarding, they're like, how do you bail? And that's just one of those things you just kind of get comfortable with time. Like my board, you fully strap yourself in, but you can get boards where you can take your feet out. But it's not necessarily the best thing because you see kids when they're learning, they'll panic and slide their foot out and then the board will go one way and their foot will go the other. So we always try and get kids to just kind of, if you're going to fall off, you kind of just sit on your butt type thing, like a snowboard.
And you have to, I guess you've got to learn to just relax your body. And if you're going to scorpion, you're going to, you know what I mean? You can't have that mentality I can just jump out of this and roll away.
Totally.
Yeah. So with your personal journey, you start to pick it up and you become a mountain boarder.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm guessing this is what, you said you're 12?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
So, and I'm guessing a skateboard setup's a couple of $100. I'm guessing a mountain board setup's a bit more expensive than that.
Yeah.
So do you go and get your own setup? Where do you even do that when you're 12?
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny to look back now in the age of social media, but back then I was in this tiny little country town.
What year is this? Just to paint the picture.
Oh, fuck. It'd be early 2000s, I guess.
Okay, yeah. So you're born early 90s.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So it's early 2000s.
Yeah. So my friend that got me into it, Johnny, his older brother was really into it and really good, and so was his group of friends. So they were kind of our role models that kind of let us know what was up. But at the time there was a forum. Do you remember forums?
Yeah.
And there was this mountain board forum called ozatb.org. And
all-terrain boards?
Exactly, yeah. And so there was this forum, and that was kind of like our Bible. Right. That was where all the information was. That's where you buy boards, sell boards, ride days, community meetups.
All that stuff.
Before
social media, that was where you got all your info from for niche subculture things. Yeah.
Exactly. And it was sick. I think I prefer that.
It was better.
More exciting.
Facebook killed all that sort of stuff, those communities, I'm sure. And Reddit, I guess, as well.
Yeah, totally.
Reddit kind of became the forum thing.
Yeah. So that was sort of the hub. So I found my first board on there, and I ended up buying this board, which was called a Biohazard Industries board. And
Brand new or secondhand?
secondhand, of course. It was probably like $400, which was a lot of money back then.
Right. But
And
retail would have been like 800 or
oh
something.
yeah, and the crazy thing was that board came from Poland to Australia back then. So somehow it got to Australia. That was my first board. Super fucking flexy. But that's all I had. And so I get this board, and it's just like me and my three mates, and my friend Johnny lived on the back of the golf course, Emerald Golf Course.
Which they're already out to get you.
Yeah. So we would go ride there like after school. We'd like build little timber kickers, drag them. Like we literally would put them on get a little kicker ramp, put it on our mountain boards, push them all the way down the dirt road to the back of the golf course, push them out onto the fairway, and then we'd like session these little kicker ramps. And back then the boards were quite heavy. So we were like, our big goal was like land a 180. That was the move. Like if you can do the 180, you're the big dog.
Yeah. Front side, back side didn't matter.
Yeah. Oh, well, backside was a little bit scarier because you're like facing back down the hill. So like frontside 180s, that was the goal. Learned that. And then I started getting obsessed, as I tend to do with these types of things. And I ended up landing a 360. And none of my friends had landed the 360. So I was kind of like the big dog. And that was when I like kind of the fire inside me sort of started, I think. Like, holy shit, I'm like, okay, it's something finally. Because like at that time, like I was skateboarding a lot and loved skateboarding, but like many other skateboarders or action sport people don't really find themselves in traditional sports. Like I tried every sport, footy, cricket, baseball. My family is like a huge baseball family. And I never really liked the team sport sort of dynamic. Like I don't know, I could never really relate to it.
Yeah.
So action sports were my thing. And yeah, so I ended up doing the 360 and I'm like, shit, I can do this. And then, yeah, since then I started getting obsessed, riding every day after school, getting better and better. And then we, through the forums, learned about the competitions and riding days and meetups and stuff like that. So we went to some of the riding days with the older guys who we kind of like idolized at the time.
And they're like 16, 17, 18.
Yeah,
like
exactly. Yeah. And they're like doing all the big tricks and like.
So what's a big trick for back then? Like you're doing a 360. What are they doing?
They're probably doing like, well, I guess they were like kind of like hitting PVC pipes and grinding rails and stuff.
Okay.
And it was still very early days back then. So one of the top guys had only just did like Australia's first backflip on a mountain board.
Okay.
Which was like the big dog,
Crazy.
Jared Cronin. Yeah.
Right.
And
Is he still riding?
no, he's not. But he was like an influential figure at
Like
that
a
time.
pioneer in Australian mountain boarding?
And
Okay.
Ryan Slater. It was Jared Cronin and Ryan Slater. They were the big dogs. And Ryan still rides at the moment. But yeah, so we're looking up to them, ride days, and then I entered my first competition. And it was kind of like this, I don't know, like a community event in a park, and they had bands and music, and it was like a youth event, but also they had a mountain board event. And the mountain board group had organised to bring down all these ramps to the park next to the skate park, and it was called Park Fest. So we had like a big PA, music, mountain board competition, skate competition, and it was just like the sickest thing ever. Me and my three best mates there, like trying to hang with the older guys, like trying to like show off, like get noticed. You know
Is
what
it
I mean?
age groups?
Yeah. And I think I ended up I came third overall potentially in like the freestyle. So like doing tricks and rails and jumps and whatever. And then I got noticed by my first sponsor. So I ended up getting sponsored by a Melbourne company called Mountainboard.
Okay.
And they were kind of like the distributor for like the American brands and stuff in Australia.
Yep.
So I kind of get like a very low level sponsorship through them. And then I'm like, fuck,
But you're stoked though,
I'm
because you're like 13.
frothing. Yeah. Fucking sitting there with my friends. Like I have these epic memories of like me sitting in my friend's bedroom listening to like Rage Against the Machine, the Beastie Boys, like reading through BMX and skate mags, mountain board mags, like just getting charged. And then like pinching my parents like old like it was like the first versions of like a digital camera and had like a video setting on it.
Oh wow, that would have been grainy as fuck.
Yeah, so shit, like 240p sort of stuff. But it was like the beginning of YouTube essentially. And so we started filming things on these like little silver digital cameras, and we started posting stuff on YouTube. And then I started getting noticed, and then we started like loving the process of like going out with the boys on the weekend, filming all the tricks and posting them.
Yep. And that would have, because you guys were young,
Yeah.
you were looking to do that, where the older generation of people that were in their 20s then, they wouldn't have been fucking around with YouTube then.
Yeah, exactly.
It's because of your age was kind of that right time. You were embracing that new stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, and they were like getting wasted and doing whatever, and we're just like so pure, just like trying to mountain board. So yeah, that was kind of like my sort of youth, and then like obviously I'd go to different little mountain board events around Victoria. I've got like very fortunate to have super supportive parents, so my dad would drive me out to Ballarat and Lock and Gippsland and Mount Macedon, and we'd go to all these different races and slopestyle events, and even just like go out and like my dad was so good, like he would take me out to like spots, like the older guys who I started kind of like mingling with. They would go out and film tricks at different spots around Melbourne, and then my dad would like take me there, and they're all like getting stoned or whatever, and like my dad's just so chill, just letting me fucking hang.
So with the competitions, there's different disciplines. Like you said, there's races, there's freestyle, there's downhill. Like what are the different disciplines?
There's like sort of main three ones. There's like it's very similar structure to snowboarding. So it's like freestyle, which kind of within freestyle, there's like slopestyle, big air, and then like rail, like street sort of stuff. And then there's border cross racing, which is kind of like, I don't know if you've seen the snowboard border cross.
Yeah.
Similar thing to that, but it's dirt.
Yep.
And then there's also like downhill racing, which is like going fast downhill like a mountain bike sort of event. So I always sort of gravitated to more the freestyle type stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you feel like an outsider on the mountains to the mountain bikers and that sort of thing, somewhat like the skateboarders are to the scooters or something like that? Is there that kind of, what's that thing with four wheels?
Yeah, definitely. Especially because like I was still skating a lot and still going to the skate park and stuff. And then I obviously started bringing my mountain board down as well. And like back then, everyone's mentality was a lot different. And like there was definitely like people who I looked up to and stuff in skating were kind of like, what the fuck's that? You know what I mean?
But I'm sure they wanted to have a go.
Yeah, totally.
And then they're like, because like that's like anything. Even when I was a kid and scooters come out, you're like, I want to try it, and you're like, it's not for me. But you want it. You're curious. You want to try it.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's funny. It's like full circle moment of how I was the first time noticing mountain boarding, where my friend brought it to the skate park.
But that's because it's that skating mentality of, if it's not a skateboard like we know it, it's not cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And even when the retro boards started to come in with the single kicks again, like as in, you know, come in as full circle, people were like, what are you doing riding that big 8, you know, big single kick thing? But then people just become, oh, well, that's just a different way of skating.
Yeah.
It becomes accepted.
Which
it sucks it needs to go through that process. But it seems to happen. So now people dig it, and you know, when they see it, they just ask questions, and they're like, "Oh, yeah."
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and like most people, I guess, kind of like are aware of whatever I post on the internet, so they kind of get it, which is cool.
Yeah.
And like they see it in like its true form and see how it all works amongst the action sports ecosystem, if you will.
Yeah.
But
so you're using the grainy digital camera, then do you think, okay, well, we got to get some better cameras, which I know technology's got to kind of catch up as well.
Yeah.
But is that because you want to level up this YouTube stuff because you're making some waves all over the world, I'm guessing, not just in your local community?
Yeah, and that sort of time to MySpace was a big thing. Yeah. Solid top 8, you know what I'm saying?
I had a look today of someone who's coming in tomorrow, and their website still lists, because they're not really that active in music anymore, and their website still lists their MySpace as their website, their website still lists their MySpace.
Yeah.
So I went and had a look, and it's like the top 8 is still there, but there's only 2 of those top 8 that still have an active MySpace. And it's like, it's so weird how MySpace still exists.
Yeah.
Like, it's there. Like, if you don't delete it, it'll stay there.
Yeah, fuck, I'd hate to think what mine looks like.
The thing is, they made it so hard when people jumped ship from MySpace because you needed to know your email address to deactivate your account. And if everyone just forgot that email, then your account will fucking stay there.
Yeah, totally. I reckon mine was skady180@hotmail.com.
There you go.
Don't hack me, all right? Fuck.
All right. The password may or may not be Radface. I don't know.
Exactly. We the cool thing about MySpace was it allowed me to connect with mountainboarders around the world, which I never really had that much access to outside of the forums.
Yep.
So then I was adding people from America, from Europe, from Japan, whatever. So like now I'm connecting and getting motivation from other riders. So that kind of was all popping off, and then Facebook came in, and yeah, like you said, I finally updated the camera and got a Canon 550D, which was kind of like the shit back then. Like all the skaters and whatever had these little basic digital cameras. And yeah, and so started posting more on YouTube, Facebook. My network started getting a little bit bigger and started meeting all these people from around the world. And like I said, that really fuels your motivation and your drive. And then at that point, I'd been doing pretty good in competitions and stuff. And I was getting towards sort of the end of, it's kind of like in like maybe 16, 17, 18, where I was getting noticed. And then when I got into year 12 at high school, I fucking like, I loved school, but I hated it. Like I loved like
The social side.
the social side. You know, you've heard it all before. Loved the social side, hated the education side.
It's for a lot of people, yeah.
Yeah. And like I'm sure like many young Australians still now, like just so confused. Nothing felt right to me in terms of like a career. Like it all just felt overwhelming, and I couldn't relate to anything. Like nothing was like, oh, I want to be a doctor. Oh, I want to be a whatever. And all I could think about when I'm sitting there writing out algebra in year 12 is like, fuck, I can't wait to get out of here and travel overseas. So all throughout.
And you've got contacts you've met all over the world, and you're seeing trails and tracks and jumps and stuff you want to hit, and you're like, okay, well, this is holding me back.
Exactly. And you got to remember too, like I was from such a small little country town in the middle of fucking Australia, no one's ever heard of. And yeah, and I just kept looking on the outside. I'm like, oh my God, there's all these amazing mountain board parks and all these things happening everywhere else. And in Australia, there really wasn't. Like there was a couple of...
But there's lots of trails and lots of like downhill spots that you can hit, but that's not what you're about.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't necessarily like mountain board specific. So it was like a lot of riding like local BMX jumps, mountain bike trails, skate parks, whatever we could get. And
But is it all terrain though? It's very versatile.
Exactly, yeah. So we were riding a lot of that stuff, but I kind of at a young age kind of niched more into like street style type riding. Because like I grew up, like I in my childhood I was in Emerald, and then we moved to Beaconsfield, which is kind of like southeast suburbs. So I was in the suburbs, and I grew up right near Jez, Korea.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, so I grew up in the suburbs in my sort of teenage years, so I didn't have a lot of access to the mountains or the hills or whatever. So then I started riding more street stuff. So I was like jumping down stair sets, grinding handrails, trying to find like the mountain board equivalent of street skating.
Yeah.
Because obviously I was still hanging out with all my skate homies. They were all filming clips, you know, trying to get sponsored for skating. So I'd tag along and do mountain boarding on the side. So I kind of got a reputation amongst the international community as being like the street mountain board guy.
Right.
Which not many people were doing at the time.
You'd take some spills though, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
like I know that, like we said with the bales, like it must be hard because if you're like a lot of those mountain board dudes, they're falling onto grass and dirt.
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you're falling onto concrete and stairs.
Yeah, totally. And the interesting thing is, like, when you're watching someone street skate and they're skating a handrail, for example, like a lot of dudes will, if they're a bit apprehensive or a bit nervous, they'll have their warm-up trick, whatever it is, like a board slide 50-50. They'll ollie on the 50-50, grind a bit of the rail and jump off.
Yeah.
That's
CJ
kind of like,
before you do it sometimes.
exactly. That's the
When
good
he
way of...
wants to, but then he'll probably do it third try, but you know.
Yeah. That's a great way to test out the spot. But with a mountain board, because I'm fully strapped in, you don't really have that option. So you kind of like have to just jump the stairs and then like tap the rail, like 5-0 at the end of it, and then kind of like work out your trick from there. So you are more committed. And the bails can be gnarly. But you can also, like, if you're doing a board slide or something, you could jump out, like, rather than like ollieing out, you know what I mean? Like, because you are strapped in. So there is pros and cons to like the bailing and stuff. But yeah, there's definitely been times where we've had gnarly wrecks.
So you've had some big stacks?
Yeah. I've broken my wrist, both my wrists twice, my elbow, knee, clavicle, shoulder, like, you know, just whatever. But it's most of the time it's like just doing dumb shit. It's not really like doing anything. Like, obviously I've had injuries doing serious stuff, but the majority of the time is by when you're just goofing around. Like this is probably my worst injury. I broke my elbow when I was I think 16, and I was my mum was taking me to try on my school uniform, and she pulled over to get petrol, and I'm like, oh mum, I'm gonna go for a skate. The skate park was opposite, Nari skate park was opposite the servo, so I went for a skate. First drop in, ollied up onto this manual pad, and my trucks got caught on the ledge, and I got flinged off, fell on my elbow, and then fell on the floor, completely just broke my elbow. And long story short, my mum still took me to try on my school uniform.
Really? She's like, you'll be right.
Dylan, you do this every fucking day. Put some water, like put a water bottle on it, you'll be right. And I tried on the uniform, came home, and my mate calls me up. He's like, oh, do you want to come over for a sleepover? I'm like, hell yeah, brother. Stayed at my friend's house, and long story short, went to the doctor the next day. It was huge. And the doctor was like, oh, I think you've just got a bruised bone. And I was like, I don't know, man. It's kind of fucked. And
X-ray was needed.
yeah, well, they did x-ray, but because it was so inflamed, they couldn't really tell what was going on. And so, yeah, long story short, they misdiagnosed it for like months, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. And then finally I found this good doctor, and like, oh, no, it was broken from the whole time. In the meantime, I'm like working out, doing stuff at school.
Oh, it's made it worse.
Made it so much worse. And now I've had 2 surgeries on it. I can't turn my wrist. And now I've got this like calcium growth on it. And I had like all the cartilage removed because they were going to try and regrow it with stem cells.
Wow.
And it failed.
Jeez.
Because they can do it on knees, but they haven't been able to figure it out for elbows. So now I've got this calcium growth that kind of acts like an elbow pad, which is
Well, there you go.
great.
There's some pros to it. Fuck, man. So then when you're coming out of school, you're like, okay, I'm ready to go. I don't have any career aspirations. I want to make a go of this mountain boarding thing. So then you finish school. Do you pass? You finish?
Yeah, straight by school. Just literally the minimum inter score I got it.
Yeah.
Got the tick. And then I worked 3 jobs and saved up a lot of money.
It's like Macca's or something? Like what?
I worked at the Shed skate park.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So when they reopened it as the new fancy one that it is now, I was like one of the first people.
Did they let you skate it, or what? What do you say with mountain board? Do you board
Just
it?
ride it, board it,
Okay,
yeah, whatever.
Okay, yeah. Do they let you do that? They do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I was skating there, mountain boarding there, teaching skate lessons, mountain boarding, and then also like running the shop and whatever else. But I was working there. I was working at a factory, and I was working somewhere else, but working a lot, and saved up a bunch of money, and I organised with one of the people I met on Facebook. His name was Andy Packer, and he lived in London. And England is actually at the time was like it was popping off mountain boarding.
Really?
Such a small country, but such a big population of people, but also of grass fields.
Right.
So back when mountain boarding was introduced to England in the 2000s, they were going through a drought, believe it or not, in England. And a lot of the farmers back then were like obviously in disarray, and mountain boarding had just came in. So the people who imported the mountain boards started taking mountain boarding to all the farmers and being like, hey, can we build a mountain board park on your property? And then that'll act as some passive income to offset your troubles with the drought.
Wow.
So that was actually very successful and built a lot of they used to call them mountain board centers.
Uh-huh.
They built all these mountain board centers throughout England, and because it's such a close population, it really traveled.
Yeah, and the rest of Europe, it's not that far away, so they can
Exactly.
start going there as well. Yeah.
So that was kind of like the Mecca back then. So yeah, met this guy on Facebook. He's like, hey bro, come over. You can stay at my mountain board park. And I was
like a good deal.
dope. So unfortunately for my beautiful mother, I told her that I had this big extravagant plan to travel like around as a sponsored mountain boarder, and all these people were going to help me and support me and take me to these events and blah, blah, blah. I had this big plan. I literally had planned to meet Andy Packer at Heathrow Airport at 18 years old. And that was it.
That was it. Yeah.
So I saved up all my money, flew from Melbourne to Heathrow, and like this, like, damn, I hope this random Andy guy picks me up. And thank God he picks me up from Heathrow, drives me back to the mountain board park, and then I sleep on the floor of his mountain board shop for 2 weeks. And that was so sick because it was really close to London, but also they had a huge ski lift.
Oh, wow. So
so
that's
it's like,
the dream. That was
yeah.
what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot of dragging your shit up the hill, but
Yeah,
they
yeah.
got a lift.
Yeah, it was beautiful too. It was like a full, like a rope tow, like you would have at a terrain park at a resort. And they had asphalted up the top of the hill. So you're like getting towed up on asphalt. It was like luxury.
dream.
Yeah. So 18 years old, getting wasted every night, mountain boarding every day.
Booze is cheap.
Booze is cheap. They got like this cool country shop up the road I'd walk to and buy food and come back and cook it at the shop. And then every morning Annie would come in and say, wake up, Dylan. And I'd literally have to like pack up all my shit off the shop floor as like a group of school kids are coming in for their mountain board lesson.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. And then from there, I met other pro mountain boarders and we all kind of got along. And
So were you pro at this time?
no, it was kind of just like sponsored, like
By
Aussie
the
sponsored.
Australian dudes?
Yeah,
Or by
yeah.
something else? No?
Yeah, by the Aussie dudes.
Yep.
And they kind of, the pro guys kind of took me under their wing, and then we traveled around Europe. And they, no, well, it wasn't even Europe at that stage. They actually were building the skate park at Glastonbury.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So if you guys at home don't know what Glastonbury is, it's like, I don't know if it is, but it was one of the world's biggest music festivals.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah.
For I think for Europe, it is the biggest. I think Coachella might be the biggest.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah. So my friends were building the skate park, and they're all phenomenal skateboarders and mountain boarders. And they went there a week early. So I literally got smuggled in like a refugee in the back of a removalist truck with all like the skate light and all the ply and the whatever. And then we get smuggled into Glastonbury, and we help with the ramp setup. And then we're in Glastonbury for like 7 days. I think the event only goes for 4.
Yeah.
And it would have been longer, but it was like one of the, like being a little kid from Australia, it was like the most craziest thing to experience.
Was it muddy?
Super muddy.
Yeah, because the whole thing is like Glastonbury, you need your gum boots and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. So, so we were in Glastonbury. Wu-Tang was the headliner.
Wow.
Which was just crazy.
Yeah.
And like we got up the front and I couldn't even hear them rapping because the bass we were like right next to the speaker, and the bass was just so intense. It was just like,
So were you doing demos and stuff there, or just putting together the ramp?
we just built the ramp, and then they had like the Euro Vans team come and skate the ramp. So we were just like hanging out watching them. Got to skate a little bit.
Yeah, so it's not a mountain board.
Nah,
it's a
nothing to
skate
do with
park.
mountainboarding. It was just a cool opportunity.
Yep.
But in that time, I became friends with everyone, and then I got in the band with them, and then we did a
With the Vans guys.
no, sorry, with the Mountainboard dudes who built the
yeah.
skate park. And then so I got in the band with them, and then we did a Euro trip. So I got to like go to Europe, through Europe, and go to like Germany, France, Belgium, all these amazing places. And then I started getting noticed by like the American brands. And then I started getting sponsored by MBS Mountainboards, which is like the biggest mountainboard brand.
Okay, and that was one that you had on your radar from years before. Like, is that where you want to get to?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, they're like the big dogs. Everyone knows them. They got like that's actually, as I told you earlier, the two friends who started mountainboarding. That became MBS Mountainboards. That became their mountainboard brand.
What's MBS stand for?
Mountainboard Sports.
Okay.
Very matter of fact.
Yeah, right. So Mountainboard Sports. So then,
Yeah.
you're on their radar. They say to you, "Do you want to ride for us as like an amateur, or how does it work in
Yeah,
mountainboarding?"
more or less like an amateur type vibe. And so I get sponsored by them more or less, and then I fly from Europe over to America. And then I fly straight to Colorado where they're based. And I met the owners and
the dudes that started the whole thing.
yeah,
The
totally.
pioneers of mountain.
Yeah, which was just like mind blowing. Actually, no, I met them earlier because Joel Lee is the brother of Jason Lee. So Jason and Patrick started the company. Joel came in early, and the three of them built the company up. But Joel actually lived in Australia, so I met him in Australia, and then Jason had came over to visit Joel. So I had met Jason briefly.
Okay, but this is not Jason Lee that skateboard.
No, which
different
is
Jason
confusing to everyone. Okay,
okay,
so there's
no.
Jason Lee skateboarder, Jason Lee mountainboarder. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's a pretty common name.
yeah, exactly. So anyway, so I get to Colorado, get to spend time with Jason Lee mountainboarder. It's the coolest shit ever. And then I start doing mountainboard shows. So like they had this big rant system back then where they would take to big like American like festival show, like what you see like carnivals. So yeah, I'd get paid to go out to these events and do mountainboard tricks and
Demos, essentially.
demos. That's what I'm trying to say with my words.
Yeah, you'd get to do demos and
Yeah.
be riding for the big brand.
Yeah.
The big one.
Yeah.
Now, when you get to ride, is it like skating where you get to ride for them and then you might get other sponsors that come with it? Do you know what I mean? Like, or is it the board is just the board? Like, I'm just trying to put in my perspective so I understand.
Yeah,
and a lot
yeah.
of people listening, like, are the trucks a different brand to the boards? Are the wheels different? You got bearings? Like, fuck, I don't know.
No, what's funny, like, because I make that comparison too, but back then mountainboarding was so small, like there was only like the big mountainboard brands, so they
Brands.
didn't necessarily
Have the
like.
components.
It wasn't like indie and
Yep.
Thieves and whatever else. It's like just like you get the complete board more or less. But now it's a bit different. You can interchange parts and whatever. But yeah, so I got sponsored by the big brand, and then that was kind of like 18 to 20, and then that kind of everything kind of went from there.
So have mountain boards changed technology-wise since then? Or
Yeah.
is it like, with the skateboard, it kind of got to somewhere in the late 90s and it hasn't evolved too much since?
Yeah, that's funny. I think about that a lot, and mountainboarding is different like that. It's more comparable to snowboarding.
Where
Like
the technology just keeps rolling.
yeah, exactly. And they're big on the technology type thing. Like the deck, everyone's always like having a different version of like how the deck's constructed. And it is more or less like a plywood skateboard, but then it's wrapped in like fiberglass and different weaves.
Do you want
and
to grab it and let's talk about it?
bit of show and tell for the
Yeah,
fellas.
well, I think so. That'd be cool because, like, I don't know too much about it, to be honest.
All right. So this is my pro model. So this is by MBS Mountainboards.
So you're still with those guys to this day?
Yeah, which is pretty epic.
I'm just going to move the mic a little bit so we can. You hold it. You stay there, but I'm just going to move this so we can hear a bit more.
All right, so the basic rundown is this deck is more or less like a plywood construction, and then it's wrapped in fiberglass. And the reason why they do that is because you want a mountain board to be quite stiff and rigid, so you can take impacts and absorb rough terrain, but also it needs to have a level of flex that is snappy so you can actually pop the board. Mm-hmm. It kind of behaves a little bit like a snowboard in that regard because you're applying pressure to the board to make it ollie, kind of.
Yep. What are snowboards made out of? They're not made of ply, though. Nah.
They have like different veneer layers of different plywood materials,
they are.
but they have also different types of glues and shit. So it's kind of like in a very basic layman's term, it's kind of built similar to a skateboard and also similar to a snowboard.
Yeah, it's a hybrid. It's a snowboard skateboard. Hybrid, which it sort of is anyway.
Yeah, but it's not a longboard.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the deck. This one's interesting because it has foot pads on it. Not all boards have this, but it has like a bit of a raise in the grip tape there, and that's to act as like a bit of concave. Like previous of pro model like versions of this board I've had concave in the deck. But this one we opted to do it a bit differently, just to a performance thing more or less.
Right. So you've actually like had a big hand in how the deck is designed and how all the components come together.
Yeah, so I work with Joel, who is actually on the peninsula as well now.
Oh, cool.
Or has been. And he works remotely for MBS from Australia.
Cool.
And he's the brother of Jason, who is in America. Mm-hmm. And he's the product designer. So we work closely to design all the products.
Right.
So, yeah, these are the bindings. So it's similar to a snowboard binding, except you don't have to wear snowboard boots. You can just wear your skate shoes or whatever.
Yep.
And like I said before, this one, like you completely strap your feet in. So like, I'm trying to do this upside down, but you kind of just use the ratchet strap like a snowboard. Yep. You click your feet in. And this one's a heel strap. So that goes behind your foot. So you just loosen it off.
So when you said there's like quick release ones, they're like that you can they'll clip out or something?
Yeah, so like some people don't even use these things, these heel straps, like this.
So they can just bail by sliding their foot backwards.
Or you can push like a skateboard.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep. That's hard because your foot's facing that way. So when you're pushing, it's...
Well, you can kind of actually have your foot like in the binding, like
tilted.
You can straighten it up a bit, which is kind of good because you can kind of lock your feet against the post for more grip.
Okay, I get that.
But the awkward thing is you have to push a little bit wider so your feet don't hit these huge ass wheels. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so it's going to look pretty clunky.
Yeah, that's why I don't really like it.
And you have to get your foot down lower because that board sits a lot higher than a skateboard would.
Yeah.
So then you've got at the front there, you've got your truck bolts. So you've obviously got different sizes you can have of the trucks.
Yeah. So this one, you can adjust the wheelbase. So I prefer to have a shorter wheelbase because it's just like easier to spin the board and whatever. But you can, if you want to go, if you're like a gnarly downhill dude, going fast type thing, you might want to have a wider wheelbase. And then on the other side here, like you can kind of see the trucks here. It's kind of like an oversized skateboard truck, I guess.
But it's got like a universal pivoting sort of, not universal, but it's got a pivot there.
It's got a kingpin in the middle.
Right.
And then we have these, they're kind of like a bushing. They're called shock blocks. So you can adjust the tension of the truck from here. And the reason why there's two is because mountain boarding, you're going quite fast and you're going off rough terrain. It kind of just helps with the handling a bit more. So,
a bit more shock absorbing.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. The deck actually takes a lot of the shock absorbing, but this does help. And it also, you can, like a skate bushing, you can get different stiffness in the bushing.
Yep.
So if you want to go super fast, you get really hard. If you want to go carvy, which is more like what I prefer, you can get like these white ones, which are quite loose. Mm-hmm. This is a product Joel and I designed in the last 2 years. This is called a cross locker. So I don't know if you like noticed when people are grinding on a rail on a skateboard.
Yeah, they do that cross locking.
They do a cross lock thing.
Especially on a round rail, it's a big thing now, yeah.
Yeah. So like Jamie Foy's a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to do that on a mountain board, but obviously the issue with a mountain board is you got rubber tires. So
You're gonna catch.
if you cross lock on a mountain board, you can catch. And like some dudes wax their wheels and stuff, but like we came up with this so you can fully like cross lock on a rail
So
and
do they
stand on
that
it.
fits on the axle or it's part of the axle?
It just slides on the axle, and you just do it up with like an Allen key. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Like I had this idea, and Joel was able to make it in CAD and literally just produce it for me, which is pretty sick.
Are they aluminium?
Yeah. Oh no. What are they? I think they're actually
Alloy.
Yeah, because they still grind, but you can grind on the top too if you like hit a ledge or whatever. And then you've got these 8-inch wheels. They're like pneumatic, so they just inflate like a bike tire. And then you can get like different types of tread. So I run a pretty basic tread because I like ride on street and concrete and stuff. But you can get like a really chunky off-road stuff if you're doing downhill or whatever.
Looks like there's a bit of an egg in that tire too, man.
Yeah, probably.
Looks pretty solid egg, yeah.
The funny thing is, like, some people are really meticulous about their boards and whatever. I just really don't give a fuck.
But you'd pop tires all the time.
Yeah.
Do you retube them or are you just chucking your tire on?
Yeah, you retube them. Unless, like, it explodes and then you'd have to do a new tire. So, yeah, that's the wheels, and, like, the bearings are pretty much the same as the skate bearing. It's just the axle's a bit bigger, so it's just the hole's bigger.
And are the rear trucks the same as the front trucks?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, pretty much. And then, like, I mean, if you're, like, going for speed, then you might do a bit tighter in the back, looser in the front type thing. But I run mine pretty loose, pretty how's it going. But obviously, like, you can grind them. Like, that's a few board side marks. This board's relatively new, so.
There's no stickers on there though, man.
Nah, I don't really do stickers in my old age. I don't know. I don't care enough, I guess. I just want to ride.
That was the funnest part about getting a new
Totally.
skateboard is
I
putting
agree.
them on there like you've got a sponsorship or something.
I know.
You've actually got the sponsorship.
Yeah, so I guess maybe I lost that. But yeah, I'm really stoked on this graphic, actually. This graphic I did with Jess Mudgett, and he does a lot of sick graphics for like Creature Santa Cruz and stuff.
Pull it on this side so you can see, because the mic was holding it back.
Yeah, he does a lot of skate graphics, and he did a Mountainboard graphic, which is really cool. It's kind of like this cool desert theme.
And I guess you get the side profile where you've got something on as well, like
I got like a little signature here.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, but like they make boards on all different shapes and sizes. Like this one's like a performance high-end type one, but like they make smaller ones for kids. And
So what would something like that retail for, man?
I think in Australia that one's about $1,000.
Okay.
And then an entry-level one's probably like $400.
Are you buying it like you would? Is it complete put together, or you put the components together yourself?
Yeah, it's pretty put together. I think all you have to do these days is just literally put the wheels on, which is easy.
Yeah.
So, but like if you're listening to this and you want to get your own board, like check out Marketplace or eBay and just get something secondhand and just try it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then, when you start getting hooked, then you can upgrade to something like that.
So when you first got sponsored by those dudes, you go through the sort of amateur process. They're just giving you boards. You're riding other people's professional boards. At what stage do you get to when they say, hey, man, we want you to do your own fucking board?
Yeah, well, I guess I did like those couple of big trips overseas. Like I think it was probably about 2 or 3 years where I would go to Europe, go to America. And I kind of like was building up my reputation, filming a lot of stuff, posting a lot of stuff on early social media. People were starting to know who I was. And once I came back to Australia, I really started working a lot with Joel, who lives in Mornington, brother of the guys in America. And I started helping him develop the boards. And we like designed a lot of products I helped design a few different products with him. And then it kind of came to a point where they were trying to build out a new like top of the range board, and the conversation kind of came up like, hey, like could we just like make it your board? And I was like, sick.
Yeah.
So we did my first one, and at the time it was kind of cool because I was like the first Aussie to like get a pro model on like a
international brand.
Yeah, so that was really sick, and yeah, it kind of started there.
And other sponsors?
Yeah, I had like different clothing sponsors and like different drink sponsors and all that sort of stuff back then, but nothing like anything too substantial. But it was mainly just a lot of good support from the Mountainboard company.
Yeah, okay. So enough to mean that you don't have to hold down another job?
Nah, definitely working another job.
Really?
yeah.
So that has always been the
Yeah,
case?
totally.
And that, because is there any pro mountain boarders out there that are just doing that full time?
Definitely like back in that time, like when I was sort of 20 or even a bit younger, like it was kind of that period. I guess it was probably sooner. It was probably like, it was before 2008, I guess, when the global economic crisis was. Action sports was popping off. There was so many sponsorship dollars, and like a lot of the pros back then in mountainboarding were like getting paid quite well. I kind of missed that. Like dudes back then were getting Red Bull money. You know, they were doing massive mountain board trips around America. Like they did this mountain board show where they toured with David Bowie and Moby.
Wow.
That was like one of the tours I did. So
You could imagine it would appeal to like Red Bull and stuff. Like it's new enough that it's exciting. It hasn't been tapped into by too many other big corporations.
Yeah.
So they kind of get behind it, you know?
yeah, and in that period too, it was really interesting because like the whole world was kind of like invested in action sports. Tony Hawk was popping off, Pepsi Max Tour, like
Extreme.
yeah, Vans Warped Tour, like all this huge stuff, and yeah, mountainboarding was really growing then too. There was like a mountainboard Disney movie called Johnny Capahala, which was
Really?
crazy. Yeah,
So has it gone through waves of popularity?
definitely. It's similar to skateboarding actually. So it was this huge peak in those days. It was in like Rocket Power. Do you remember that?
Oh, no.
It was like a kids' TV show.
Right.
Mountainboarder was like one of the main characters. There was the Disney movie. There's video games. There was all sorts of shit. A lot of money. And then the global economic crisis hit.
Right.
And then action sports as a whole took a huge dive.
And is that around the same time that sort of the X Games kind of peters out a little bit as well? Like it
Exactly.
still exists, but it's like, yeah.
Yeah. And that was the time where I was like going overseas and getting noticed and stuff. So I kind of missed that boat a little bit.
Yep.
So, so I definitely at that time was like pro and still working a job and like scraping by type thing.
But you're still enjoying your life. You're going on adventures.
Totally.
Has van life kicked off by that stage?
Not yet. So I did that for years and years, traveled overseas, worked jobs, mountainboard as much as I can, film video parts.
Where are the spots to go? Like obviously you said the UK, you know, England's a good spot. There's places in Europe. US has a scene.
Yeah.
Is there a mecca? I imagine that Japan would be good with like
Yeah.
yeah.
Japan, I've been to Japan, I think about 8 times now.
Right.
So like
Just in the summer? Like
In
I'm
the
guessing
summer,
it's
yeah.
good to
yeah.
The ski lifts are there.
Yeah, because like, the mountainboard community is so small, and I started meeting all these people online, like I told you about, and I started talking to some of the Japanese riders, and not a lot of like Western people had been over there to mountainboard, but their own little community was kind of popping off. So I kind of reached out. I was like, "Hey, can I come and ride with you guys?" And then I started going to Japan. And the cool thing about Japan is the mountainboard park is literally at the base of Mount Fuji. Wow. So you're like riding down this beautiful volcanic grass hill and hitting all the jumps and stuff, but you're looking at Mount Fuji the whole time. So like, over the last 10 years, I've built a really strong connection with the people over there, and I get to go visit there most years, and it's the best place in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad goes every January to go snowboarding.
Oh, dope.
And he's in his 60s, but he goes back every single year.
Yeah.
So he just reckons it's better to go snowboarding there than it is to go here.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And it's cheaper.
Way cheaper.
Yeah.
He reckons he goes like 3 weeks there, and it'd be the equivalent of going for like 5 days to like Hotham or something.
Yeah, totally.
And that's everything.
Yeah. It's really cool over there too, because the mountainboarding's sick and the terrain's really cool, and then like the culture. And like a lot of the mountainboarders in Japan, like one of the big guys over there, he is sponsored by Burton. He was a really renowned half pipe snowboard rider and also a pro mountainboarder.
Yeah, have like those brands, those snowboard brands, tried to infiltrate the market, or is it
A little bit.
A little bit. They
Yeah.
have? I could imagine K2 and those sort of brands going,
Yeah.
"Oh, we kind of already do bindings and shit," you know? Like,
Yeah. Well, a lot of the mountain board components are made in in some of the snowboard factories.
Yep.
But back in those early days, when I'm sort of talking about like when the scene was popping off, yeah, the snowboard companies kind of did flirt with it a little bit. Never Snubber made a mountain board. Burton did a little bit, but it never really was a priority to them, I guess.
yeah. So they've dropped off since.
Yeah, they haven't really done anything since, no.
And the skateboard sort of brands didn't try and get in there.
Nah, not necessarily. Like, I don't know if you've seen like back in the day they were called XT wheels, or like off-road skateboard wheels, like hard plastic solid skateboard wheels. That was probably like the only thing. And they're actually like now are coming back into popularity. Like you see dudes like Grayson Fletcher and stuff, like jumping dirt jumps on these big like Tonga truck looking off-road wheels. Yeah.
So when you were first starting out, someone doing a backflip was phenomenal.
Totally.
And then I'm guessing the trick progression happens pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So now if you bust out a backflip, are people impressed?
They are at the Red Hill show.
I was there
All
that
the
day,
little
man.
kids.
I was there at the Red Hill show and I didn't realise that you were there.
Yeah.
I found the bar and didn't go in.
Yeah. Like just normies love that shit. Like my business is we have a big portable mountain board skate park that's kind of like a transformer. So it's like an old caravan chassis that I've built a box trailer out of, and it has a roll in on the top that winches up to 5 meters tall. And then within the trailer, all the ramps and the airbag live in there. So you kind of build it out and it becomes a mobile mountain board skate park.
Yeah.
So we get a hired by a lot of events like the Red Hill show and the Berwick show and the Pakenham show and whatever, to do a stunt show and show people what mountain boarding is. And then we teach the crowd how to ride. But the funny thing is, like, I'll do like a 7 or like a front flip or something really difficult. And then the kids are just always like, backflip. Yeah. It's just like so funny.
Yeah, that's the thing. The front flip momentum is so much harder to get than the backflip. You kind of tuck yourself and you get a go. But with front flip, it's a different scenario.
Yeah, exactly. So
what else are the big tricks like in this day and age? Like backflips are common, I'm guessing, kind of now. Not common. Like I'm sure your average, mountain boarder can't do one, but from a technical perspective, if you've got a pro board, people are going to be doing backflips.
Yeah, totally. And like the dudes who like are into the big air stuff, like that's not so much me, but like dudes are doing like double corks and double backflips, double front flips.
Double front flips.
Yeah.
So, and are we talking, is that in a run, or is that just like fanging it, hitting a kicker and then doing a double front flip?
It's both. It's like they'll hit one big jump and do, like, say if it's a really difficult trick like a double front flip, maybe they'll just, like a bigger event, they'll just, most of the time it's like 2 jumps in a row. And they'll bust out those big tricks on that. But then there's also like a slope style event where it's like jumps and rails. So it's a little bit more diverse.
Can you see it picking up in popularity again? Like in this where you said it goes up and down, where is it at the moment?
Oh man, it changes all the time. Right now, it needs a shake up, and like mountain boarders have this problem of always, and I'm sure skateboarders and everyone else does, having this mentality of looking in the past, like a bit of like back in my day sort of thing, like how it used to be.
Yeah,
and
which doesn't help push it forward.
Exactly. There's not enough people forward thinking to help push the sport in a cool direction. And there's a lot of distractions. One of the areas that I've always been passionate about is trying to make it relatable to skateboarders and snowboarders. And but the interesting thing now is the power of social media. It's like, I think like in the last couple of years, I've done like 200 million views on social media.
Wow.
Which is crazy. So
200 million.
Yeah.
You monetized?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
But it's like, it's not like a 10-minute YouTube video where you're going to make a shitload of money. It's all like YouTube Shorts, Instagram, Facebook.
200 million is still a lot though, man.
Yeah, totally.
In any capacity.
Yeah. So a lot of people like get exposed to it. We're in an interesting time, I think, at the moment where kids are more reserved. They're not taking as much risks. And I think you see that across the board.
Because of, do you know why? Video games.
Exactly, yeah.
The whole thing about what do they say? Go touch grass or whatever.
Yeah.
They're staying inside where they're safe and their thrills are happening on, and like that makes me sound really fucking old, but I had a Nintendo and shit when I was a kid.
Yeah, me too.
But I did that when I wasn't playing basketball or skateboarding.
Exactly.
I wanted to do the physical stuff first, and that was when you couldn't go outside anymore. I think it's changed a bit.
It totally has. So, yeah, it's an interesting thing that I spend too much time thinking about, but it's like you have so much opportunity with social media and so much exposure and so much reach, and you can tell a good story and get people involved, but it's always so much. And like we do stuff in person too with the shows.
Yeah.
So I have these two things of exposure to get people in the sport but getting someone to stick to it is another challenge.
Okay, getting them to see it is the first tick, right?
Yeah.
On social media or on YouTube.
Yeah.
Getting them interested enough to want to do it is the second thing, and then getting them to purchase a product and become a mountain boarder is the third one.
And then the fourth thing is having them stay in the sport.
Okay.
So it's like a 4-step thing.
Okay.
And you can only really stay in the sport if you have a reason to progress, or your friends are progressing, or you're like a year or two in and you've met all these great people and you've developed a community.
Yeah. And the community aspect, I'm sure, is huge in anything. You know what I mean? And that's another factor. When we were young and we were playing video games, or you're younger than me, but you play the games and you'd play against the computer and you might play against your friend, but you weren't really conversing with them. Now these people have their community online.
Exactly.
And they feel that they've got that community. They don't have to go to the downhill, whatever.
Yeah.
You know? It's another factor, another thing we're fighting.
And it's like, and I can understand it too, because like for these kids at home, they literally get out of bed, walk across to their bedroom, plug into the computer, and they're talking to their friends, and they're playing and they're doing the thing they're passionate about. Whereas like going out on a hill when it's raining outside and getting covered in mud and doing slides, it's a bigger barrier to entry, but potentially if you overcome that, it's more rewarding. You're like, oh, sick, what a great memory. You know, it was raining and we were like covered in dirt and we got wet, but we had so much fun.
Yeah. So even for someone, I'm in my early 40s, but I've got a skating background, if I want to get involved, what do? You just go find a board and then you just find a hill and you just fucking send it?
That's literally what you do. You just like go, like I always tell people, find like just a nice grass hill in your local town, and you can literally just ride down it, build a little ramp, take it to the hill, learn how to do 180s, learn how to 360s, flex on your friends that you can do 360s. Yep. And then you get more confident. You start going to find some dirt jumps, bike park, skate park. And then you need to start building your community, whether it's going to competitions or online or whatever. But that's the challenges we're facing. And I think it's the same with, like I speak to a lot of my friends who are building skate communities or mountain biking or whatever. It's like everyone's kind of trying to figure this out.
Yeah. I think it's in all of these, like you said, skateboarding got to that point where I think it's pretty safe for now. And it goes through waves as well. Like it'll go through popularity waves and then it'll peak and trough and whatever. But it seems to be okay at the moment.
Yeah.
But with all these sports or activities, it seems like there's only room for a certain amount of them. And when one comes back, it sort of pushes another one out.
Yeah.
Like you're kind of seeing like a sort of resurgence of rollerblading now.
Yeah.
I guess that's because the 90s is sort of become full circle.
Yeah.
I don't know if kiteboarding's still a thing, but fuck, that was a big thing for a while.
Yeah, totally.
So then all these, you've got your core things like people are always going to surf, people are always going to skate. But then I feel like these kind of a little bit more niche sports, they'll just go through popularity, and I guess Instagram, Facebook, whatever TikTok probably now is what's going to send those popularity trends back.
Yeah. Totally, I'd agree. And I think one interesting thing I've noticed in the last sort of 10 years is like I've been skateboarding and been involved with like a little bit of Melbourne skating stuff, and I've had quite a few people get into mountain boarding because they kind of like almost want to, like they've kind of done all they can do in skating, and they're ready to try something different. And mountain boarding's new, but it's similar. So they like,
It's what it appeals to me for.
yeah, totally.
And I like the idea of falling on the dirt rather than concrete.
Absolutely, that's a huge thing, and that's what I tell everyone. Like, when you, no matter what age you are, like a mountain board's good because the boards are bigger. It's easier to balance on. Your feet are within the trucks, so you can't shoot out like you see what someone like when they learn how to skate. The first thing they do, they'll stand on a board and the board will shoot out. But like because the mountain board's opposite, where your feet are beneath the trucks, you're more stable. You got a longer wheelbase, so it's quite a solid board to ride. And then coupled, if you're like learning on a grass hill, it's like relatively safe to fall on. And I've taught like thousands of people how to mountain board at this point, and and I've also been a skateboard coach, so I find people who try mountain boarding will pick it up really quick compared to skateboarding.
Yeah. So I guess people with a snowboard or a skateboard background, you're going to get it pretty quickly.
Yeah, dominate. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So you coach mountain boarding as well?
Yeah.
Like through your own thing, or people employ you, or you do it through community things? How does it work?
Yeah, so I've been coaching in mountain boarding for a long time. I don't do it as much in person anymore. But I have a business called Australian Mountainboarders where we do mountain board lessons, and then we also do the events. So it's kind of like a business to introduce people into mountain boarding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's working?
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing it since 2010. So
15 years.
yeah, it started back in the day when I was in high school, and I was like eager to get overseas. At that time, I only had like 3 of my best mates who rode mountain boards, and I was frustrated when they were off doing whatever else they were doing in high school, and I had no one to ride with. It really instilled in me that I had to get other people involved. So back then, I would host mountain board meetup days in local parks. I'd build a lot of ramps and bring them down to the park and like connect with other people in my local community, and everyone would come and learn how to mountain board and ride all these jumps and stuff. And I'd do this a couple of times a year. And I built up quite a following in my local area. And that's how the business started. I was like, I'm quite passionate about getting people into mountain boarding. And then, we bought the trailer, built the ramps, and then over the last 15 years, it's kind of built up to what it is now. But
so if people want you at their event, or if they want you at their local council to do a, open day or whatever, how do they find you?
Just on the website, ozmountainboarders.com, or on Instagram, Facebook, we're everywhere. But yeah, we have a smaller ramp system where we do like corporate days, birthday parties, stuff like that, where we just do lessons. Or if you got like a big festival or an agriculture show or whatever, then we have like the big ramp system that we can bring and do a full performance.
Was there, at the show the other day, was there like a big inflatable crash mat type scenario?
Yeah.
So tell us about that, man.
So that's been huge for us. It's like only just 5 years ago, we'd have to build a giant plywood landing for the events, and now people are making inflatable ramps that you literally plug in like a jumping castle blower into a ramp, and it inflates your ramp.
Wow.
It takes 10 minutes to set
got a hard
up.
surface like on top, like it's a...
Some do, like the one we don't, because we mountain board, we don't necessarily need it. It's literally just like landing on a jumping castle. Is kind of what it looks like, in the shape of like a landing ramp. But some people put like a resi mat over it too, if you're like riding a skateboard or whatever, to make it a bit more harder to land on.
Yeah.
But it's good because people use it in training as well, because it's more forgiving to fall on that than like dirt or concrete or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. The resi mat I've only just learned about when I've had a couple of BMX guys in, and I see that's how they kind of build up their confidence. Like it used to be, you go from the foam pit to that.
Yeah.
You're doing similar things with BMX, with mountain boarding.
Yeah.
BMX, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So you would learn a new trick in like a foam pit or something?
Yeah. It's funny, when I first started learning how to backflip on a mountain board, I don't even think Ramp Fest was a thing yet. we would have to take a ramp down to the Maribyrnong River, and we'd set up a ramp into the river.
That would have been good footage.
Yeah. And that's how we all learned how to backflipping into the river. And it was funny because the Maribyrnong's gross and it's like full of like dead lizards and couches and all sorts of shit. But yeah, and then years later, the foam pits came into all the indoor skate parks and we learned tricks there, obviously. But now it's like with the airbags, it's so much easier because you just inflate them and then you can try a trick and put it away, sort of thing. So it's really cool.
Yeah, man. But so you've got the whole rig. It's all hooked up to one big like trailer that just folds out.
Yeah. It's like a transformer. It looks like a caravan with a roll-in on the top, and the roll-in tower is on a winch. So it travels like with the roll-in flat to the roof, and then you winch it up and it goes 5 meters in the air. And you start at the top of that, you ride down the big ramp, and then you hit a kicker, and then you land in the inflatable landing. Yeah. Which is really cool. And then we also have like a smaller trailer that also expands into smaller ramps for kids to learn on.
Yeah, okay.
Or adults, whatever.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's all. I'm guessing most of the time it's people that have never done it before because it is pretty new.
Yeah.
You're not going to get to those sort of events and people are going to be seasoned mountain boarders.
Oh, no way. I don't want that insurance drama.
Yeah. For sure, man.
Yeah.
It sucks that things like insurance does get in the way of that sort of stuff. You know
Totally.
what I mean? Yeah. So, also, besides that, you're a bit of a van life guy.
Yeah.
How long have you been into that for? And that's something that's very, very big now. But
Yeah.
you showed me your van, and it's quite impressive, man.
Yeah. So, in lockdown, I was living in a suburban townhouse, and we entered the lockdown here in Melbourne. And if anyone doesn't know, it was the world's longest fucking lockdown. And I, like many other Australians, really struggled with it. And I am very outdoorsy. I very much have built my life around traveling and being outside. And I felt myself like extremely
Like suffocated,
caged in, couldn't do anything I loved. And I just found myself like really sad and I'm like everyone else and just watching mindless shit on the TV, which I never do. And I started like watching other people like traveling and van lifing and all this stuff. And, you know, we finally got out of the lockdown and I flew up to, it was kind of like that awkward period where we're kind of like out of lockdown, but we're going in and out. So I flew, like half my family lives in Noosa. And I flew up there to go visit them, and I hired one of those wicked camper vans.
Yeah.
You've seen the Scooby-Doo one?
Yeah.
So I had the mystery machine. I hired the mystery machine
I've seen that one around, yeah.
Yeah. So I hired that up in Noosa, and I drove it from Noosa down to Brisbane and the Goldie, and I did like a bit of a Mountainboard skate trip and filmed it all and had it like just completely by myself, fresh out of like a gnarly breakup, and just had like the best time ever. Went to all the sickest skate parks, skated with a bunch of dudes, went to all the Mountainboard trails, went to all the beautiful beaches. And I'm just like, oh my God, it just blew my mind. Mm-hmm. Just like you can wake up and do whatever you want all day, still work on the computer, and then sleep in the van. So I remember telling my auntie when I left that trip, I'm like, I'm going to go home and buy my own van. So I went back to Melbourne, we went back into lockdown, and I started researching it. And
it wasn't a great time to buy them because everyone wanted to do the same thing.
Yes. And it was really hard to get a van, and the prices were like 40% inflated. So I ended up finding this guy on the other side of the city who was selling a ex-ambulance.
Yeah, nice.
And so I went out there out of my little radius, did a bit of a dodgy, and went and checked out this van. And it was like pretty good. He used to like use it as a bit of a toy hauler. He like it had since had been converted from an ambulance just to like a van or whatever. And he'd like take motorbikes out and whatever. And I ended up buying it and didn't really look over it too much. And then I spent like a couple of months just fixing all the mechanical bullshit that I hadn't noticed. And my idea was to convert it into like a very basic van conversion that I could just disappear in it once we're out of lockdown and do a big Australia trip. But as I do, I kind of got a bit carried away and started building it and adding things. And I'm very fortunate that one of my really good friends, Craig, is probably one of the best van builders in Australia.
Right.
Aurora RV in Hallam. And he gave me a lot of guidance and support and let me like build the van in his workshop. And then I kind of like turned it into a bit of an Instagram series. So I started getting some products and it ended up becoming something a lot more than what I anticipated. And it took me 6 months to build the van.
Yeah. But you had time.
I had the time and I built it out and I made it sick. And I was like, I kept telling myself like, oh, it's for the resale value. And so I finally built a van, and then it changed my life. I drove all the way up to Queensland, stopped all along the way, went across into Northern Territory, did Alice Springs, checked out all that, did a Mountainboard van out there, and then drove back down. And since then, like I had been doing it full time, just like mountainboarding every day, working from it, living in it. I had a compound where I was previously where I had like a training facility set up. So I was fully, So it was more or less like, I'm very much like into like the sustainability type of off-grid living. Mm-hmm. So I had 2 shipping containers and I had one that I converted into a workshop and a little podcast studio of my own. Mm-hmm. And that was like completely run off solar power.
Nice.
And then I had another one that I was turning into a house. And then I had the van. And then in between all of that was like a mountainboard park.
Wow.
Yeah. So
what happened? But you don't have that spot anymore.
No. And this has literally only just happened this month. I've literally just sold everything and the lease was running out there. They were trying to sell the property. And now I've moved down here into a real house. Yeah. But I still use the van like all the time. Like I work down in Bayside a bit and I stay in the van down there. And like owning a van has probably been the best decision I've ever made, I think, a camper van, because it just opens up your world to like opportunity, but also just a cool lifestyle. Like a lot of the time I'll go camp by the ocean and watch the sunset and cook dinner outside and see random junkies in the parking lot, or just you get to experience life. I've definitely had that experience where you get home from work and you just watch TV until 12 o'clock, pass out, and you just miss out all this shit.
That's not what it's about.
Yeah, but it really does unlock like so much more to living. It's a really cool experience.
Yeah. So you'd suggest it to everyone?
Yeah, totally. 100%. Yeah.
So and it's a good time to buy a van now because COVID's finished. And there's probably some out there that people have decked out and they're like, oh,
absolutely.
I'm back to my real life now. I don't have time for this life, you know?
Yeah. Totally. And then like the way I kind of justified it is like I'd spend, $200-300 a week on rent, or I could spend it on fuel and I could travel the country, or I could stay in my little suburban town.
People grow up.
Yeah.
People have different stages in their lives where, I don't know, the energy changes, things move. Have you had anything like that happen to you where you've kind of thought, oh, this is a bit of a handing over of the torch, or, a pivotal point in your life? Yeah.
So when, I guess, like at the end of lockdown, it was a really difficult time for me and everyone, but I also was turning 30. Mm-hmm. And 30 to me, and I'm sure, I don't know if you had a similar experience, but I feel like people in my sort of friendship circle, action sports, whatever, have this idea of when you turn 30, it's kind of all over. You know what I mean? Like, especially like growing up watching skate videos, like everyone's sort of peaking when they're in their early 20s. And when you get to 30, everyone kind of falls off. Mm-hmm. You either have a drug addiction or like you broken, or you're not doing it anymore. So I struggled with that for a long time, and coming up to 30 I was like
it's just a number though, man.
That's what they tell you. And I was like stressing hard. And so that's when I decided to buy the van. Mm-hmm. It's like, I need to do something for me. I had this idea that I was like, needed to have everything figured out. I think that was the real problem for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You hit 30, you're meant to be an adult. You're meant to have like a 9 to 5. You're meant to have a family. You see everyone else doing it. And I really struggle with that. I don't know if you had a similar experience, but
Yeah. Yeah, I got on my 30th birthday, I got a tattoo of Bart Simpson with 30 in the eyes, and I said to myself, that's because it's going to resemble my immortal immaturity.
Oh my God, that's exactly what I should have done. That's
And
sick.
then I decided to get on my ribs, and it fucking hurt. And then while I was there, I was like, that was a bad idea. Why did I do that? But no, look, I know what you mean. You wrestle with these sort of notions that you should be this and you should have that. But also, you've had fun, right?
Yeah.
And these people that you look up to that have the house or have the whatever, have they had as much fun as you? Do they look at you, grass is always greener, and go, man, I wish I fucking had no responsibility? So there's two different ways you can look at it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the conversation. I was still really starting to stress I didn't have it all figured out. But I think the moral of the story is you don't need to have it all figured out, and it's completely okay to create your own path. And you can do something completely different to everyone else. And that's why I went out and bought this van, and I started traveling and started creating a life that I wanted to live. Like I wanted to get up and have a coffee, go for a walk, go skating, go mountainboarding, edit some footage. And that's how I want to live it. It looks very different to someone who wakes up at whatever time and goes and works on the tools for 12 hours. And that's a very noble path, but it's not right for everyone. And I guess the message is if you want to live your life different to everyone else, it's okay. And I've really done that with my life. Mountainboarding is a small sport, very niche, there wasn't a path, and I've literally had to create my own. And now I am like 33. My mindset has changed a lot, and I guess in my 20s I love to party, go out and get smashed. Never thought of my body, and now I have really had to change my diet and eat more so I'm not inflamed and pain all the time. I'm working with like a personal trainer. I do like what's called like functional training. Like I guess when I grew up, I always thought like gym bros, it's so like egotistical, like trying to get all these sick muscles and whatever. I was always like really like put off by that.
Yeah.
But now I'm like working with a trainer that I can actually do things to not only make myself better and stronger, but prolong my mountain board career.
Are they a specific trainer that works with these sort of sports?
Yeah, exactly. They're called core foundations in Melbourne, and but the type of training is called functional patterns, and you're essentially creating strength and mobility so you can skate and mountain board BMX longer. It's really cool, and it's something I found really helpful, coupled with like not drinking as much and eating better foods, eating more protein. You can actually mountain board and skateboard and whatever for longer periods.
Yeah.
You can do it until
like
you're 50 or
anything.
60.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You look at Caballero and you look at other dudes that have been doing it for a long time. So they'll find out what your weaknesses are and make you strengthen those.
Yeah, exactly. Like I got to a point when I turned 30 where I was like drinking a lot, whatever, had a lot of injuries, and I got to a point where I could barely bend over and strap my feet into my board. Like my back was so fucked. I was so stiff, and like, 20 years of impact, you're so like tense and whatever. And like through training and eating better, like I feel like my body feels like I'm 20 again. Like I feel so mobile and strong and flexible. It's like, it's really helped. So, yeah, I guess if you're out there and you're in your 20s, maybe just think about looking after yourself, but it doesn't end when you turn 30, I guess is what I'm saying.
No, and as someone who's turned 40, I can tell you that it doesn't end there either.
Yeah, exactly.
I joined the gym a couple of weeks ago, or about a month or so ago, for the first time ever, and I'm 43.
It's so intimidating, hey?
Yeah, I went to a kind of pretty basic one, so I didn't feel that bad. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, like I think it doesn't matter when you start. It's just you got to get to a certain point where you're like, all right, if I don't take care of my body, it's not going to take care of itself.
Exactly, yeah. And like you can recover from injuries. You just got to like go out there and do the research and talk to doctors and like do the physio, do the rehab. And if you are younger and you're 18, 19, 20 and you do have an injury, you really have to like put in the work to try and get it correct, because it can affect you in the long run. So
yeah, for sure. Like even if I've broken my ankle before, you know, and then because you break your ankle, you start to disperse weight more on the other side, which
Yeah.
then throws your back out, and then all this stuff, everything fucking, and you throw everything off.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, man, 30's not the end. And yeah, hopefully, you know, we can keep going up from here.
That's it, man. Man, my dad's 60 something, and he goes to Japan snowboards every year.
That's where I want to be. That's so sick.
So 30's definitely not the end.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
You've got a proper rental property, like you said, now.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is going to be your base for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the reason why I got this rental property is because it has a large area and it's on a hill. So I can essentially like build out a new training facility is the reason why I got it. And then it's also the added benefit of having normal things like a dishwasher and a washing machine.
So you need a training facility because you want to keep boarding every day and progressing and just working on your tricks and that's the plan?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's hard with mountain boarding in Australia because there isn't a lot of mountain board facilities to practice at easily. So I'm building my own spot so I can continue to get better and learn new tricks and film stuff and create content, etc.
Is there a scene down this way? Is there other mountain boarders?
Yeah, for sure. Melbourne's in Australia. Melbourne's probably the biggest mountain board scene. It is still quite small and quite underground, but I mean, in saying that, like, it's not a bad thing. It's still quite cool, and it's you have really strong connections with the people who ride, and it's a good community to be in. Mm-hmm. Like when you zoom out and you look at other communities like skateboarding, like there is a lot of gatekeepers and a lot of that like cool guy sort of energy. But mountain boarding across the world, it's very open and people are just stoked to see other people mountain board, you know?
Yeah, I think you find that the smaller the sport or pastime is, the more welcoming people are because they're just happy that other people are doing it.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
Yeah.
And everything goes through waves of popularity, so it might be around the corner, it might blow up, man. You might be mountain boarding at the Olympics. Who knows? Would you want to do that?
I mean, I think when I was younger, I probably would have. Now I'm like, whatever. I mean, right now, I really don't. I'm not interested in competitions, to be honest. I very much like in my older age have realized like I mountain board because I'm a creative person. And I like
your expression.
It's my expression. It's very cliche and you hear it all the time, but I view mountain boarding and skateboarding as like an expression of self as opposed to like I'm training for the Olympics. I'm a sports person. And that's why I didn't get into sports when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I got into it because I thought it was cool.
For sure. But you said you wanted a training facility, so you want to push yourself and that's your expression?
Yes. I want to get better at what I do. And it's not in for a competition necessarily, it's just for myself.
For your own. Okay. So when you come back here, I'm hoping you're going to come back in like 6 months' time.
Yeah.
What's a new trick you want to have dialed, or what's something you want to be working on, you know, at this facility?
I'm building like a platform and a staircase and a rail. So I'm excited to just have that in my backyard and just experiment with like a lot of different like spins onto rails and stuff like that, like snowboard style, like 270 on and different things like that. Yeah.
And will you have it so you've got crash mats sort of around it, or how is it?
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that. I'm kind of thinking of putting in some little gymnastic mats you can throw down, and if you want to learn a new trick, it's not as like I went to Woodward in America.
Yeah.
And seeing some of the shit they over there, it's insane. Like they have handrails into airbags now. Yeah. So like you can try a crazy trick and then you just fall in an airbag and it's mellow.
Man, have you seen, I think it's in Sweden, they've got that school, which is like the skate school.
Yeah.
And they had these training facilities where you've got flat bars and handrails that you can adjust like hydraulically to different heights. It's crazy.
Yeah. I'd love to try and figure that out.
Man, yeah.
Me and Joel have been talking about putting a lift in as well. He's got an idea. So like, you know how before I was saying like on my board I'm fully strapped in, because you can't push, we use like a lot of wakeboard winches and like a lot of like a elastic bungee cords. Yeah.
Which people tow themselves into skate obstacles now. With
exactly.
That stuff.
Yeah. So we use a lot of them, but Joel's figured out a way to convert our wakeboard winch into a tow rope. So I'm going to have a backyard tow rope.
Okay. So up or down?
Up. So you can like ride down my backyard, hit a few ramps, and then get the tow rope back up.
Okay. Yeah, I'm interested to see this,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
I'm guessing you didn't tell the real estate agent we're building a fucking park in the
Dude, I did. I said it like, I'm like, just so you know, for the 5th time, I'm bringing a skate park to the backyard.
And what, I didn't care.
Nah, I think like in the next couple of years, I'll demolish it.
It's a knocked it. Yeah, I was at my mate's house, Ryan, the other day, and he's got a mini ramp in his backyard, and he's built a sauna. And he's like, and the real estate agent like, what's that? He's like, I built a sauna. I built a mini ramp. They're like, you know that you might not be here forever.
Yeah.
I guess if you're that committed, fuck it, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully, touch wood, it'll be all fine. But it's in the backyard. No one can see it. So whatever.
Man, I'm looking forward to fucking seeing that. I want to check it out.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you have to come across, man.
Yeah, well, it's not far.
Yeah.
As we get close to wrapping things up, man, it's been an hour and a half already. It goes quick, doesn't it?
Crikey Moses.
Is there anything we haven't touched on that you want to talk about, or anything you want to tell us about what's coming up in your world?
Yeah, man. I mean, like, if you've ever thought about getting into mountainboarding, I think you should definitely give it a crack. Like I said, you can get a board secondhand, relatively cheap. All you need to do is go out and find a nice grass hill, do some carves. Like, it's very easy to see mountainboarding on social media as this extreme, gnarly, fucking rugged thing where you're gonna die. But it really isn't that. Like, some of the funnest times I've had with my friends is just going out with a few beers, sun setting, carving down some hills like you're on a powder day in Japan. It's just about turning, having fun with your friends, doing something different, doing something unique. And, you know, if you're a skateboarder or a snowboarder or a surfer, you have those foundational skills. And it's nice to break things up and do something a little bit different. Like, I still skate now, and it's nice to be able to do 2 different things.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah.
And if people want to reach out to you, they can hit you up on your website or on Instagram. I guess you've got a lot of Instagram followers. You're probably not DMing people back too much on there. But what, the website, is that a way to do it?
Yeah, no, hit me up on Instagram, or like if you want to know more about mountainboarding, absolutely. I'd love to help you. Yeah, I do like a little bit of YouTube and stuff too, which I'll be, when I start building this backyard skate park, I'll be posting on there. I've got like a little podcast of my own with
shout that out.
with my best mate. It's called Bill and Dill. It's kind of like about the Australian experience. We do a lot
Is
of.
he down here as well?
Yeah. Oh, he's in the city, but he comes down here. And I'm actually building out a little podcast studio in the house. So I've got so many projects, man. Got to do the podcast studio in my office, and then I got to build out my shed so I can build the skate park.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think this is why I've just hyper focused on this.
Yeah.
I don't have I've got a few other projects, but this is my main focus now.
Yeah.
And I think that's helped. But when you've got a lot of pots on the stove, it's hard, man.
Yeah, and I'm very fortunate. Like my friend, I do it with Bill. He's really great. He does a bit, and then we also have a producer as well. So, yeah, it helps a lot. So, yeah,
Producer.
Yeah.
Yes, all right.
So it's Bill and Dill. If you want to have a look,
Man, we'll have to get both of you in here and you
Yeah.
can do a Bill and Dill episode.
that would be sick. Yeah.
All right, Dill, aka Radface.
Yes.
Thanks for coming in, man. I look forward to seeing your progress on your home skate park or mountainboard park.
Well, it'll be skatable too. So if anyone wants to come skate,
Okay.
we can do the dance.
We can make it happen.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming in, man. Thanks for taking
Hell
the
yeah,
time.
G. Thank you so much.
Cheers.